Hello, everyone. My name is King Britt, and I'm assistant teaching professor here in computer music at the University of California, San Diego. But I've also been a producer and artist for over 32 years, and I've had this long-running relationship with Moog, the instrument company. And my first keyboard actually was the Mini Moog I bought as a kid, and so they have a special place in my heart. And so it was a great to test out these fantastic plugins of the physical Moogerfooger pedals that they used to make. Now, some people say Moogerfooger, but I say Moogerfooger in alignment with Bob Moog's name, Moog. But anyway, so these plugins are amazing. They sound great, and I created a track inspired by the kind of IDM sound of the mid 90s going into the 2000s, groups like Plaid and Autechre and things like that. So I made my drums very chaotic around a more kind of dreamy track. So anyway, I'm going to play the drums quickly and run through how I use these plugins quick. So let me just collapse that. Okay, so I made an effects rack here in Ableton, and I'm using 3 Moogerfoogers, which I'm going to show you in a second. And I have a LFO cluster done by, this is a Max for Live patch by Kentaro. He does great work. And this is 6 LFOs running at different times, having different shapes, and they are modulating different parameters in these actual Moogerfooger plugins. So here's what the drums sound like. I'm actually playing audio of the drums because the MIDI, it's just I'm recording as well, so I don't want it to glitch out. So here's what the drums sound like. Crazy, right? So you can see these parameters moving here, but I have this cluster moving those. So let me just open up. So the first one I have is the filter. Come on, man. Now you're not going to see the levels here pop because I have the MIDI off so that I can record. But it's all running the same, and the LFOs are running the same. And so basically this filter, I liked how it sounded. I looked for how I wanted it to sound, and so I'm mixing the dry signal with the pedal itself to give it some sort of like watery sound as far as opening and closing the filter. Now you won't see this open and close. It's just going from dry to wet. And this is open, and then the dry is a little bit more closed. So it just gave it and my resonance is up. So it gave it a little bit more watery sound. And then I have this drive, like driving it harder. And then in the back, with the physical Moogerfoogers, you could, control these parameters with CV. And here in the plugins, you can control it with other Moogerfooger LFOs and envelopes, which is very cool. And you can have, say, a bunch across different tracks in your DAW, in your project, and you can utilize the LFOs from different tracks, which is cool. And it's endless possibilities, especially rhythmically. And these are attenuators, so you can kind of set the levels of where they're going to go. And you have positive and negative. And so that was the first. And then I had it going into what's called the Freak Box, which is fantastic. And I'm using this just to add color, and it sounded really good on the kicks. So giving it that kind of crunch, but not too much. I'm just bringing the mix in using an LFO. Probably using a sine wave on that one. It seems pretty smooth. And I have the FM frequency modulation amount at 12 o'clock, and the envelope's controlling that. brought the drive up a little bit. And like I said, you're not going to see the levels because I'm playing audio and not the MIDI. And then in the back, I have this Moogerfooger envelope opening and closing, or playing around with the amount of the FM modulation amount. And then last but not least, it's going into this beautiful analog delay, which, wow, it's really one of the best analog delays that you can use in a DAW. I have the time synced, LFO synced. As you can see, the feedback, mix, and time is all working together. I needed to have that kind of King Tubby, Lee Scratch Perry dubby effect. And also, I have on a return track, I have a delay. And so I can run, I can do, I can throw effects into it using the send, and get that dubby effect, because I like to do things live, right? I have all of these mapped to a controller, and then I can just kind of play it live, so it gives it a live feel. And putting one of the Moogerfooger effects on the delay effect, especially on a return track, is like bananas. And it's darker too, so it's really cool. It doesn't overpower or the high end. And so just so you can see it work, you see it's like you hear that dub. I think I could solo it. Oh no, I can't, because the way I have it routed, but you'll hear other ideas of utilizing that. So now I just want to play you the SH-101. On that track, I have the Moogerfooger 12-stage phaser. Gives it nice color, nice body. You have LFO built in. Yeah, it's fantastic. I have the sweep, just keeping it really simple. This is the extreme, just so you can hear. But yeah, and then I have that going into a cluster flux. Be careful how you say that. And I'm using it. This is a preset. They all have presets. I used just my own on this. I didn't save it, but here I'm using the 1982 chorus effect. Fantastic, man. Here's without it. So it automatically gives it that 80s vibe. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, I have a Moog Matriarch. That's, who put Monarch in there? So I have a Moog Matriarch. And one of my favorite keyboards, by the way. And when I recorded it with the delay that's built into the keyboard, which is fantastic. So I just wanted to kind of give it its own character within the track. So put a phaser on it, kind of reminiscent of the Mutron biphaser idea, using an LFO to sweep it. Doing some extreme things with it. And then I had another delay with it as well. Time synced, LFO synced. And a bit of patching in the back as well. But my favorite, the bass, Mother-32. And so what I did was, couldn't wait to use the low pass filter on the bass. That's what it's for most of the time. Whew. Just nasty. so good, and it's one of my go-tos as hardware, and this sounds so good on any bass. And I have it all the way wet filter in there, so you can really play around with how the character of a bass sound, and it really helps you when you're trying to have a synth bass cut through the mix as well. So I highly recommend the Moogerfooger Lowpass Filter. It's unbelievable. And of course, this is towards the end of the track, I think. But I had, I threw every once in a while, I'll throw the bass in that kind of delay, as you can just hear right there, just to give it some chaos. And then here's where we are. Come on. That delay's crazy. So that's what I did. Yeah, I hope it helps a little bit, give you a little perspective on these pedals, but they're fantastic. And I just did this video on the fly, so there was no preparation.